Many centuries ago, people recognized that the world was undergoing negative changes. In response, they turned to technology as a solution and managed to use it to lift a mountain out of the earth and into the sky. As time went on, people grew increasingly reliant on robots and began to delegate many of their tasks to them. Dr. Tenma was a prominent scientist who headed the Ministry of Science and is considered the father of modern science. In one of Toby Tenma's classroom sessions, the students watched a video about his father. The teacher then announced a surprise quiz, which Toby breezed through and subsequently stepped out of the classroom. Toby's teacher later checked his work and found that he had answered all the questions correctly. Outside the building, Toby's robot assistant, Oren, greeted him. Toby got into the car, and as Oren drove away, a hologram of his father appeared and spoke to him. He informed Toby that he couldn't attend an event with him as promised, and instead had to unveil the Peacekeeper with President Stone. After the hologram disappeared, Toby instructed Oren to take him to the Ministry of Science, but Oren refused. Nevertheless, Toby hot-wired him and changed the destination. At the Ministry of Science, Tenma spoke with President Stone and explained that the professor opposed using his research for military purposes. Toby arrived shortly thereafter and was apprehended by the guards. Upon discovering that Toby was Tenma's son, Stone allowed him to accompany the guards. While walking with the guards, Toby discussed the previous robots that Stone had approved and expressed dissatisfaction with their quality. Stone becomes irritated by Toby's criticism and orders his guards to take him to a secure location. Meanwhile, the professor gives a presentation about blue core energy to his class, describing how it is a more powerful and cleaner alternative to nuclear energy. He also reveals that it was obtained from a star fragment from space. As he discusses the potential benefits of blue core for improving life on Earth, Stone and his men enter the room. The professor explains that the creation of blue core resulted in the red core, which is an unstable source of energy that they intend to destroy. Stone's men take both the blue and red core, and the professor warns them not to put them close together, as it could cause massive destruction. However, the guards ignore his advice and chaos ensues. Toby is placed in a supply room by a guard, but he manages to steal his keycard and escapes. Stone realizes that putting the red core in the Peacekeeper robot will make it aggressive, but he still decides to do so. The robot starts attacking drones and absorbs some of them, causing it to go rogue. The scientists manage to trap the robot, but Tenma discovers that Toby is still trapped inside. As the robot attempts to destroy the shield, it vaporizes Toby. The professor connects a cable with electricity to the robot, causing it to shut down. Tenma finds Toby's hat on the floor and blames himself for his son's death. While grieving, Tenma decides to construct a robot in his image. He uses a strand of Toby's hair to retrieve his memories, and the professor gives him the blue core energy to power the robot. After passing electricity through it, the robot falls to the ground and activates. Tenma names the robot Toby and takes him home, while the professor stands in amazement. The next morning, Toby wakes up and sees Tenma, feeling weird and asking if he had been sick. Tenma hugs him and they walk out of the room. Oren sees Toby and is frightened, realizing he's a robot. Tenma instructs him not to speak and informs Toby that he won't go to school anymore. Tenma begins teaching Toby, giving him several books to read and telling him they were his favorite when he was a kid. Toby starts messing around and making paper planes out of the book pages. When Tenma gets angry, Oren admits to having supported Toby and tells him that a robot shouldn't wear his son's hat. Toby tries talking to Tenma, but he instructs him to go to his room. While sitting in his room, Toby watches two robots clean his window and realizes he understands what they're saying. He hangs out of the building and eventually falls, but realizes he isn't falling and sees that he has rockets on his feet. He flies around the city and gets the hang of flying, realizing how cool his ability is, and decides to show his dad. As Stone sits in his aircraft, he wonders why his ratings for the next election are low. His men inform him of a strange object flying around the city with blue core energy, and he instructs them to find and retrieve it. Toby flies back to his house and sees the professor talking to Tenma. He overhears Tenma asking the professor to deactivate him and walks inside. The professor tells Toby that he isn't a normal boy, and Tenma regrets his decision and doesn't want him. Toby gets upset and flies out of the house. Realizing that he is a robot and he scans himself, Stone's men find Toby and pursue him around the city. But Toby avoids them and pulls their ships through a tight building. He saves a soldier as he falls to the ground, and while standing on a roof, Stone sends a giant ship that shoots Toby with several missiles. The explosion pushes Toby out of the city, and he falls to the surface. Toby wakes up in a junkyard, and several old robots move towards him. some robots fall on him and he falls down the hill. He sees a robot dog, and as it leads him to a pit, it pushes him and a trap captures him. Some kids open the trap and realize that Toby isn't a robot. Toby steps out of the trap and introduces himself, and some robots grab him and run away. They enter a building and inform him that they are members of the Robot Revolutionary Front. They want to be free from humans, but obey the laws of robotics, meaning they can't harm humans. They ask him his name and eventually call him Astro. As Astro spends more time with a group of robots, they show him a picture of Ham Egg and talk about tickling him into submission. However, Kara and her team arrive and apprehend the rebellious robots. Astro decides to leave with Kara and the others, now calling himself Astro. Meanwhile, in Metro City, Stone and his men raid Tenma's house and capture the professor, demanding to know where Toby is. Tenma denies knowing his whereabouts, but agrees to deactivate Toby and give Stone his core if they find him. Astro and the group of robots slide off a bridge and end up in a building filled with kids. Ham Egg is there working on a robot and takes a liking to Astro, who tries to confess that he's a robot but hesitates. The group eats dinner and has fun, with Ham Egg even confiding in Astro about his own past experiences. And Astro decides to tell the others about his true identity later. On the next day, Toby joins Kora and the rest of the group in their trip to a junkyard to search for parts needed for Ham Egg. While browsing the junkyard, Toby spots an old construction robot that the others reveal to be over a century old. Upon entering the robot, Toby realizes that he can fix it using the energy from his blue core. He successfully repairs the robot named Zog, and it prepares to participate in the robot games against a regular robot controlled by Ham Egg. During the game, Zog crushes the other robot, impressing Ham Egg with its high energy levels. Toby and the other kids then proceed to clean and customize Zog with cool designs. Later, Zog saves Kora from a fall, but she remains puzzled about how he was able to reach her. That night, they reveal Zog to Ham Egg and take a picture together. After leaving the building, Toby plays fetch with a robot dog and encounters Kora, who is trying to call Metro City. Toby startles her, and she informs him that the phone is not working. Toby fixes it, but no one answers the call. Kora reveals that she is from Metro City and misses her parents. Toby promises to keep her secret and tries to confess that he is a robot but hesitates, and instead expresses happiness to be with them. The next day, Toby and Kora head to the stadium with Zog, where Toby learns that the robot games end in destruction. Ham Egg tells them that the robots are just junk and lack real emotions and proceeds to electrocute Toby. Ham Egg then reveals to the other kids that Toby is a robot and decides to make him participate in the games. Toby wakes up in the fighting arena where Ham Egg manipulates the crowd into believing that he's the villain. Ham Egg releases a robot and Toby tries to escape but is stopped by an invincible barrier that electrocutes him. Toby picks up the robot and uses the barrier to destroy it. Ham Egg releases another robot, but Toby easily defeats it. He proceeds to fight and defeat all the robots. Stone and his men detect Toby's presence and make their way to him. Ham Egg releases Zog, but Toby refuses to fight. Zog approaches him, taps his head, and lifts him up. Ham Egg electrocutes them, and Zog attacks him, attempting to kill him. Toby intervenes by holding Zog's leg, stopping him from causing harm. Stone's ship arrives on the surface and tries to capture Toby. Zog fights them, but Toby stops him and agrees to be captured. Stone informs Toby that they plan to start a war with the surface so that he can be re-elected. Later, Stone and Toby arrive at Tenma's lab and Stone instructs Tenma to shut Toby down. The professor speaks to Toby, who accepts being shut down as his destiny. Tenma supports the president and tries to shut down Toby. He removes the blue core from Toby and hands it over to Stone. However, Tenma changes his mind and snatches the core from Stone. The professor takes the core, and as Stone realizes it is not a professor's hand, Tenma separates himself from the others and reactivates Toby. Stone takes Professor's keycard while Tenma calls Toby his son, hugs him, and instructs him to fly away. Stone makes the decision to use the red core to retrieve Toby and places it in the Peacekeeper. The robot activates, and Stone gets absorbed by it. The Peacekeeper then absorbs technology from around it, breaking out of the building and scaring some reporters. Toby, who had flown away, hears explosions from the city and decides to return. He sees that the city is in a chaos, and Stone emerges as a monstrous robot and attacks him. Toby's defense system activates, and his arms transform into cannons. As Stone absorbs more buildings, Toby fights back, but Stone grabs him and shoots him with machine guns that emerge from his butt. Stone then picks up a building and hits Toby with it. But Korra and the others appear and save him. They evade Stone as he pursues them, and he destroys the city's power station. The city begins to fall to the ground, and Toby flies under it and uses his rocket boots to slow its descent. He emerges from underground and continues to attack Stone, grabbing him and moving close to the Red Corps. However, he gets repelled and flies into a building. Tenma sees him and informs him that he and Stone will die if the Red and Blue Corps come together. Stone captures Korra and the others, and Toby decides to save them against his father's will. He flies into the Red Corps and remembers his time with everyone. Stone eventually bursts out of the floor as a regular man, but he and his assistant are promptly arrested by the emerging soldiers. Meanwhile, Korra and companions discover Toby's lifeless body on the ground. Despite the professor's admission that he cannot repair Toby, Zog steps forward and uses the power of the Blue Corps to resurrect him. The people rejoice as Toby comes back to life, embracing Tenma and celebrating with their friends. Korra is reunited with her parents, and they share an emotional reunion. However, a mysterious shadow descends upon the city, bringing it with a wave of extraterrestrial attacks. As Toby tells Tenma that he is ready to take action, and he flies off into the fray. And that's a wrap for our recap of the iconic movie Astro Boy. From its engaging storyline to its endearing characters and breathtaking animation, Astro Boy remains a beloved classic that continues to captivate audiences of all ages. But as one great story ends, another animated masterpiece begins. A Bug's Life from the creative minds at Pixar, this movie takes us on a journey through a bustling insect colony, where one ant named Flick sets out to save his community from the menacing grasshoppers. So click this video, sit tight, and let's see why this movie is a true gem in the world of animation.